Hi everyone, some gamer dude here. It's kind of funny how this year turned out. Forceville fell completely to the wayside after getting some new cards. We didn't actually play it again, while WeCross came and didn't really launch. What it was offering wasn't really appreciated by my group. Yu-Gi-Oh! Speed Duels was a blip on the radar as well. This put me in a situation where Hyperjuken has completely taken over my physical card game play. Not just playtesting, but playing it for fun too. Playtesting doesn't want to play anything else when we meet up, which is good news for me. It means Hyperjuken is pretty darn over. However, I do spend quite a few Saturday nights with friends online doing one of two things. Playing Dungeons & Dragons over chat, or playing Cardfight Vanguard Overdress on Untap, making Vanguard Overdress the only other game I currently play. Before we go on with the video, Hyperjuken is currently on Kickstarter. If you want a fighting game card game that is dynamic, exciting, easily customizable, easy to learn, with streamlined play, give it a look. You can try it out with either a print and play demo, Untap, or Tabletop Simulator. Links are in the description. So back to Cardfight Vanguard Overdress. I reviewed it quite some time ago, before the within expectations meme, and before it really got a chance to develop. Since then in my Discord I've been asked about my opinions on Vanguard D, and how they've changed since then, so let's do that. Before, when I reviewed Vanguard Overdress, I said that it was what I envisioned as an idealized Vanguard. It was more of a fixed Vanguard, stripping it of a lot of its restrictions and needless layers, allowing it to open up, than it was a true reboot. I called it the best new game of 2021, and honestly I'd stick to that. I think it does an absolute ton right, and I greatly enjoy it. I can play it for quite some time without getting bored. I want to try everything it has to offer, just like the good old days. The only thing limiting me now is time. I don't have as much time on my hands as I did back in 2014 or so. However, saying that, the honeymoon is now over, and there are some things I have taken issue with. So let's just get the elephant out of the room. I'm still fine with overtriggers. Sorry to disappoint anyone here, but I still don't have major negative opinions towards them. I absolutely get having those negative opinions, and I wouldn't miss them if they were removed. But it is what it is, and I accept them for what they are. Big bombastic triggers meant to either be a lifesaver or create a cool anime feeling. Vanguard has always been about chance and cool anime feelings. Make you feel like you're in the series, and overtriggers are perfectly in tune with that. Is it too much? Yeah, probably, but I don't feel any great negativity towards it. The biggest thing I think Vanguard D has going against it is Vanguard itself. As much as I like Bruce because it's like playing a modern Dudley Emperor, it's also playing a modern Dudley Emperor. I've been here, done this. Sure, it has different parts and does things a lot differently, but the core concept is relatively still there. The big rushdown turn 4 game. This is true of a lot of D decks. They feel like an old concept with new paint and tuned up because they totally are, and that is pretty much expected. You can only do so much with an engine before you revise old ideas, and with the nature of D, it is going to go over old content again. That said, this is more of a me thing, spending oh so much time with the game, playing it to death back in the original era, through to early G. This is completely irrelevant to someone new to the game. It's of course all new to them. However, this isn't the big mark against D it may sound. While many decks are remixes of old, they still do offer something new. But they also aren't the be-all and end-all. I found myself really gravitating to one deck in particular, Sealed Blaze Maiden, Vav Saga, or the Arms deck. Vav Saga epitomizes the best of what I think Vanguard D has to offer. Something completely new that couldn't be done before. A new experience that is fun and unique. Vav Saga revolves around a type of order called Arms, which are equipment. a shield, a gun, a lance, and a sword. The shield is akin to a 10k shield she has at all times and can use for one attack per turn, while the 3 weapons give her a bevy of different skills, the most notable being the force damage from the sword and the gun giving her triple drive. And this is on top of all of her own support, including Trick Moon, a 25,000 booster, so long as Buff Saga has 2 arms. Fundamentally, Buff Saga is not terribly different to Legion at the end of the day. Do the thing, equip the guy, get the skill and the power. Even the visuals are similar, as the art makes a big picture, but the theming and different skills make it feel fresh and new. It feels like someone looked at Legion and thought, how could I recontextualize this idea and make something new using the order cards? I mentioned this in the review as well, but I'm also a big fan of what the set orders bring to the table, being Vanguard's answer to enchantments. Another deck I quite enjoy a lot is Seraph, for similar reasons. I think the whole prison theme is unique, and I love the idea of using it to steadily drain your opponent's resources. It plays differently, and I find it makes Vanguard feel new again. A friend of mine plays Orphist with the Shadow tokens, and I think it's quite novel too. In some ways, being able to switch from something that plays like an old favourite to something that feels fresh and original is actually a positive in and of itself. If I yearn for the decks of old, the decks of the past, they're technically still there, but I also have something that feels different and fresh and new, original. Going on, one thing I do take serious issue with is the encounter cards, the remakes of old major characters from Vanguard's earliest history. To me, it reeks of a lack of confidence in the new characters to get over and their appeal. Ever since they were introduced, I've felt it was as if Bushiroad felt they had to rely on old established characters to drive sales, and that to me completely undermines what D is trying to be and its new characters. I think it, along with the fact that DBT02 meta left a lot to be desired, feels a lot like these cards took space away from support for current characters not named Bruce or Bastion, something the meta at the time desperately needed. Then add to that the fact that Phantom Blaster Dragon is not good. It isn't a good look overall for Bushiroad or Vanguard as a whole. Favoritism for something that shouldn't be here, and already has a home in both Premium and Premium, while others in D are hurting for support. I didn't like it then, and I still hate it now. Something I found more disappointing than a true letdown is how poorly executed the nation system has been. Keep in mind, I'm writing this prior to trying anything from DBT06, Blazing Dragon Reborn, so some things may have changed with that set. In Vanguard D, the clan system has been stripped away, and the nation streamlined down to 5+1. From the outset, it looked like the intent was for the cards to be shared between different bosses within a nation, and it really hasn't turned out that way. Not in a meaningful way anyway. Well, it happened once. Magnolia found more use for Inlet Dragon than his intended boss of Flagberg did. But this also led to a restriction. It was never intended. What has happened, however, is the game bringing back Grade 4 as a sort of cross-ride, then having cards only work with the base form, resulting in 2 builds of the same concept. I guess in a way it is executing the same idea, same cards, different bosses, different builds, but not the same way I mean. The only shared cards are triggers and perfect guards, which aren't really what I mean either. Something like Brainwash Spoiler. This iteration of the game's Doreen the Thruster, and exactly what I mean, a near staple for the Dark States. It feels like a rarity to me. Deck construction, true brewing, doesn't feel like a thing either. The right deck opening up deck construction doesn't feel like it did anything, with the exception of Hexa Orb Grade 3 deck. Ultimately, Vanguard fell into the exact same pit it always does. It most as well be a set product. Your intended deck is rather obvious. The whole goal of boosters is to sell more product, since a case only gives you enough cards for one of each deck, more or less, with a whole heap of garbage. This has always been part and parcel of Vanguard, and I do think it has its benefits. It gives people direction in deck building, and makes the game easier to manage for Bushiroad. I just think there is squandered potential here, and others I've discussed this with have expressed frustration with it as well. But you know what? Other than these points, I'll stick to my review. Even with that said, I greatly enjoy Vanguard D. It's a game where I still want to try out new decks when they come out. I thought the Grail was interesting. I just didn't love it. Looking forward to see how Youthberg feels by comparison, as they seem similar in concept. I'd like to try out Heroes and Nyanorn. I want to try updates to Magnolia, Gravidia, and Flagbird. Still wanting to try new things, update old things and try them out again. The game's still appealing like that, actively wanting to play it. It's only a positive in my opinion. So there you have it, my updated take on Cardfight Vanguard Overdress. To me, the good greatly outweighs the bad, and what could be construed as bad isn't even a big deal to me. I've been meaning to get around to trying out V Premium. I've been told its Tier 2 meta is wide and very enjoyable, but I'd honestly rather just play D. What D offers in terms of an experience is far more in line with my taste. A stark contrast to V, where I became disillusioned quite quickly. Till next time friends, this has been Some Gamer Dude. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and thanks for watching.